Hi everybody, welcome back to Mom Meets World. I'm Angela Yusuf, founder of Radiant Heart Center VA.
And I'm KHYATI DESAI-SELTZER, owner of Vyana Infant Massage.
And today we are so excited to have the funny and amazing MELANIE Silverman, she's Jewish, from PACIFY. She is the chief. And she's going to tell you more about what that means. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Very happy.
So tell us what PACIFY is.
I'm happy to do that. So PACIFY is actually a mobile application that new moms download to their smartphone for video access to lactation consultants 24/7. So you press a button and within about 30 seconds to up to 3 minutes, there's a lactation consultant that pops up on your phone. It's like Uber for breastfeeding.
Oh my gosh.
Did you all hear that? A mobile app for your phone to have a lactation consultant like that.
Yes.
And I think what's really interesting about the topic that we're talking about today is, while in all of our previous interviews we've talked about the importance of ancient cultures and wisdom and the importance of community, here we are talking about technology. And I know we've said in the past, technology can be isolating, but this is an example of how technology can actually support moms and reduce isolation and actually improve their sense of community. Yes. And so I love that PACIFY is there to do all those things, that help in the immediate, help with our problem around lactation, but also help us connect with somebody that can help us at 2 a.m.
I think that's right. And I think if we jump into the physiology of lactation, when you have a question about breastfeeding, it's an emergency.
Right.
I say that all the time. If you don't get that question answered, if your doctor's office is closed at 5, and it's a Friday, you have nothing. Yeah. And to get your question answered, it means that we are probably assisting, and we have some data on this, that we are assisting in extending your breastfeeding, because otherwise maybe you're going to stop. If you can't get that question answered or that reassurance, which I estimate about 80 to 90% of it is, am I doing this right? Reassurance, you have a risk of losing your milk supply. So it's just a cool app.
That is so cool.
I like to brag about it.
You do, like everyone else. Right. But I had that instance where, because breastfeeding changes, and this is something that Susan Howard, who we interviewed as well, what she was saying is the milk, you have colostrum basically the first 3 days, then your milk comes home. You're at home by this point.
Right.
So you're on your own with this new milk supply, right? There's a change in your body and you're out of the hospital because they've sent you home. So you're solo, and that's why this app would have been so amazing. I had this total hysteric moment with my husband when we were home because it was going well, and fortunately we had been home the whole time, but we're home. I didn't have PACIFY. So in the middle of the night at 2, I'm like, I don't know what she wants. And so I pulled out the pump. I'm pumping. I mean, it was, would have been so much better to call PACIFY and have immediate help.
I wish that you would have had it, but I don't mean to get so technical on this, but we know this from literature that 90% of women day of life 3 have breastfeeding issues. You're out of the hospital. Yeah. You don't have anybody around you who can assist and support and direct you on what to do. And so that's right. The journey changes. So what's cool, I'm glad you bring that up, because what's cool is that what happens with PACIFY is there's early questions, but then at 6 weeks it changes. Why is my baby all of a sudden breastfeeding 8 to 12 times a day again? Right. Why is my baby at 5 months breastfeeding a ton? Yeah. You're about to introduce solid foods. So it's a journey. So I agree with what Susan said. This is a journey that changes, and having that app to press to get the information you need at the moment is crucial to continue your breastfeeding.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think going to what you were saying, at nighttime, when you are feeling the most isolated, because it's one thing to be breastfeeding if you're breastfeeding during the day, right? But to be solo, partner is usually sleeping because they're going to work. To have someone that you can call and that is going to be there is priceless.
Priceless.
And the lactation consultants we have are very nice. I love them all because I hire them all. But no, they're awesome. These people that want to do this work, for the most part, there's some, bad eggs there sometimes in every profession, but I really screen to make sure that these are people that love this job, first of all, that are never going to make a mom feel guilty, because that is the last thing you want. And there are lactation consultants that do that. We don't. And so we just staff the app with these amazing providers who I have such a love for, and they're scattered all over the place. And so some of them I've never even met. But I was in a meeting once and met somebody, and we both started crying because we've been working together for 4 or 5 years, and it's like a celebrity you see, and you're hugging them, and we're both hugging each other because we've been working together for so long. And I had never met her in person, but she'd been working for PACIFY for a while. So they're very special people helping the moms that call, which I think is important.
Yeah.
So
I would have been a mom. Sorry, I have to interject. I would have been a mom who'd been like, I need assurance. It's 2 a.m. and I don't know what to do. Hi. Just have someone to talk to.
Right. Or they'll say like,
last episode.
they'll be like, oh my God, somebody answered. Like sometimes the moms will be like, oh my God, this works. Wow. So it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Well, how did you get into this? Like, what led you to this?
Well, I like to call PACIFY a family company.
Okay.
So I have a husband named Scott. Scott has a first cousin named Ben.
Okay.
Ben has a best friend named George. So what happened was Ben called me in about 2014 and said, why are all these women going to the ER for breastfeeding help? I don't understand. And I said, it's a question of access. And I've known him since he's 12. Like I have a picture of Ben holding my hand at my wedding, and now he's my boss. And so it's like the craziest thing. So he called, I said, why are you calling? He's like, I'm working for McKinsey. I'm seeing all this ER utilization, and I'm seeing that these moms are going to the ER for breastfeeding help. And so we sat on the phone for, oh my gosh, hours in the summer of 2014. And he asked me, what are lactation consultants about? What is this, that, da, 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 da. To make a long story short, at the end of the summer, he said, look, I think I want to build an app. I want to build it with my best friend, George. And I want you to be our chief clinical officer. Because we had spent, it's almost like I was interviewing, but we both didn't really know I was interviewing. And so the three of us they started it and then brought me on board as chief clinical officer. And my job was to build the network of drivers, it's like Uber drivers or breastfeeding consultants to work the app. And so that's what I've been doing since 2014.
Wow. So there's sort of an interview application screening process of each of these, and they have to be internationally board certified.
Yeah. And the neat thing about these women is they have a lot of other degrees. So a lot of them are registered nurses who have worked in hospitals and WIC programs and, home visiting programs for years. They've touched probably tens of thousands of families with the help. I have medical doctors. I have a lot of military nurses and doctors who are also lactation consultants who are on the app, registered dietitians like myself who are also lactation consultants. So when you get somebody in video, it's usually somebody that has another type of experience that can complement the care you get. So it's really great. And so it started that way, and then we've grown. We have an amazing team in DC who just trying to get the word out. We work primarily in public health, Medicaid, and WIC, giving PACIFY for free to moms, actually. Wow. So that's the core of our business at this point, but anybody can get PACIFY.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that brings a point we've talked a lot about, right? Kind of balancing out serving women who may not be able to afford, again, services that are essential. I think a lot of times we feel like, going to get acupuncture, having a doula, all of these things are luxuries, but they're not. We don't live in communities the way that they do around the world where there are people to take care of the family. Right now the focus is so much on the baby and not the mom. Mm-hmm. And the mom is the one feeling left out, isolated, and like she's supposed to keep doing all the things she was doing before having the baby.
With no support.
Yeah. That is, we feel very proud that it offers this. It's kind of doing a medical thing and an emotional thing at once, right? It's like making sure we're getting babies breastfed, but also like making sure the women are getting the support they care for. I've had a woman a couple weeks ago who called hysterical. So I pick up the calls sometimes because I want to see what my providers feel like, and I want to make sure I stay clinically relevant. And so I pick up the calls, and this woman, this is so sad. She was hysterical crying. The baby was lying on her chest, and I just sat there with her, and I said, okay, it's okay. My name is Melanie. I'm going to sit here as long as you need. And she sat there and cried probably a good another 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and said, of course, because moms always say they're sorry when they cry. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Don't say you're sorry. Just cry it out. She was crying and said, I'm sorry. No, this is what we're here for. And at the end we were laughing and she was okay. But you know what that call was? It was a reassurance call. It wasn't even like I have inverted nipples or insufficient glands or whatever it was. It wasn't that. It was just like she needed reassurance and assistance. So it's been really, really special. And I do want to say about Ben and George, like they have been unbelievably supportive and understanding. I mean, I sometimes laugh. People laugh. They're like, wait, 2 men found this? Yes. Yeah. I mean, all they were looking at is why are these women going to the ER for $1,000 when they could get an app? Yeah. So we really do try to provide PACIFY to as many moms as possible. And I actually will say this out loud. I think it should be standard of care in the United States that all 4 million women in the United States because, you know, over 90% of them have smartphones, get Pacify on their phones before they're discharged from the hospital. Why not?
Yeah, just download it before you leave.
Why not?
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Love it.
That's what I'm working towards.
And
Well,
we're going to help you.
Help us. Help Melanie. Help us. Help her. Help you.
Right.
It's true, though, because there are so many things we focus on not knowing, you know, people don't know what to do before having a baby. But if you were to be able to implement these practical things, if you're planning on breastfeeding, you should have this app because you're going to need help. Like, let's just not pretend we know what we're doing or that we're not going to make mistakes.
I mean, it should be standard of care. Like, I feel like, you know, that Back to Sleep campaign that they've done a good job with. Like, I'm like, why couldn't we have the Pacify campaign?
Yeah,
you know, like,
do it.
download your app, you get your app, because Day of Life 3, you're going to have questions. I am a lactation consultant, and I needed a lactation consultant when I had my kids. Like, you know, you just need it. Like, sometimes you just have questions and you just need the help, and Google can only take you so far.
Yeah.
And can also be really dangerous and take you down the wrong path.
I agree.
Like, what that mom needed that you just talked about, she just needed a face-to-face someone to hold space with her while she released some things, and just to say you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. So, you know, we're trying to do this and you know, hopefully get it into the hands of moms. Our reviews are sensational because people just can't believe it. They can't believe that you press a button and you get, especially if it's a mom that's had a baby in the past and now has Pacify for the first time. Yeah. They just think, like, what has happened? Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, yeah, we really love it.
So, Melanie, can you tell us what common misconceptions are of breastfeeding? Because we agree that this app is really essential, but if women don't know the common misconceptions, then why would they download the app before?
This is a good question. Common misconceptions of breastfeeding. I think the biggest thing that happens is that people think their lives are they'll be able to kind of breastfeed and continue their life. And I think in the first couple weeks, for sure, what you have to do is get your head around the word surrender. And you're going to have to feed this baby around the clock, 8 to 12 times a day, sometimes lasting, you know, 30, 40 minutes total, and then do this again. And so I think misconceptions are that it's going to be doable, and I'm going to be able to do this, and I'll be able to brush my teeth in the morning. And sometimes in the beginning you won't be able to brush your teeth, but it does get better. I think the other misconception on the other side is people, when they're in the midst of it, they think, oh my God, 8 to 12 times a day, this is never going to end. And the truth is it will. So the misconception is that it's going to be like this always. And I think what we do a lot at Pacify is we talk about, this will get better, this will change. This is the hardest part. And so on two sides of it, thinking it's too easy or it's going to be easy and manageable, and then thinking it's going to last once they realize the gravity of the situation, that it's going to last forever like that. And it doesn't. It gets much, much easier.
I remember
I'm getting
that.
emotional
Right?
just listening.
Oh my gosh, it's okay.
Oh. I know, but it really, because it is such, when you said surrender, I was like, oh, because I did not do that. And that's why the fourth trimester was so hard for me, because I thought I was going to do all this stuff. I thought I was going to be home. And I just remember my husband coming home and looking at the house, and it was a total mess. And I was like, I don't know what I did all day, but this is crazy.
Right.
So much wrong. But I'm like, I don't know what I did, but she's alive. But you know, because
how old was the baby then?
Oh, she was, you know, a few weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think the other thing that happens too with moms, and I'm so appreciative for your candid, you know, information about what happened to you guys. I think it's like traumatizing, especially people that are very used to doing things and getting things done and making the checklist and checking them off. When you can't check off your list, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
For some people, especially older moms, it drives them crazy.
Yeah.
Women that have been in the workforce for a long time, and then they, you know, can't get their teeth brushed, they can't do the laundry, they can't do all this. It's very, very frustrating, and you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Your husband walks in the door, your partner walks in the door, and you're like, right.
Yeah.
So
like,
I've done nothing.
Pick up dinner, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's part of it too. In this country, we reward moms for being out 8 months pregnant. Or I remember going to yoga just because I was like, people are going to say I'm doing great because I'm 9 months pregnant and I'm still in a yoga class. We don't encourage women to slow down and process this complete change that's coming. You know, people are like, I can't explain motherhood to you, so just.
You know what? I think the big focus with that's you guys are making such excellent points. The big focus is everybody's thinking about the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby. And then we all are also, many of us are separated from our extended family. And so then baby comes, baby's so cute. Look at that cute baby. And mom feels like crap.
What?
Like total crap.
Yeah.
And so I think what we have to do is really care for the mothers. And that's actually something that PACIFY is trying to do. We're trying to look into maternal mental health. And so we have these buttons, these really cute buttons on the app, like lactation consultant, a nurse, and I think we got to add a mental health button.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if there's mental health professionals out there that want to help postpartum moms, I know you're out there. I think that little button you press and you get somebody to talk to, I think would make all the difference in the world. Yeah.
Because I too remember the first month nursing my daughter, and I was so overwhelmed because I was like, I wanted to do this for at least 6 months, until they start solids.
Right.
I was like, so if I'm, I'm calculating, so if I'm breastfeeding her like 8 hours a day times, 30 days times 6 months, like I can't do it, like I can't get there, and I was just so overwhelmed. And fortunately, my husband was there to kind of talk me down, just focus on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to get to 20 months, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to do that. But those early days, 6 months seemed like I couldn't get there. Like tomorrow seemed I couldn't get there.
You know what? I feel like I'm so glad you're sharing so much beautiful information with me, and I appreciate this. I think what I also like to tell people is that it's a day-by-day thing. So you cannot think about the child being 18. Or 16 and getting his or her license. You can't think about that. No. You do, because you get nervous, because your life has been rocked and your world has been changed. And so you really have to take it. What I sometimes say to parents is, they say, well, what's going to happen in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months? I say, you know what? Let's just stop. Let's just hold on. Take a second. Let's just worry about one feeding to the next. Call us next time. Call us in your next feeding. That's the beauty of PACIFY. You can call as many times as you want. So you press the button, oh, hi, you may get somebody different. Because we have it's like a kind of a free-for-all who helps you, but they're all qualified to help. But you can press the button at the next feed and see how it goes. 9.9 times out of 10, it's better. Yeah. It's better next time.
That's amazing. That happens. So do people pay monthly or?
Right. So there's 4 different ways to get PACIFY. The first is anybody can buy PACIFY. So you download the PACIFY app to your phone from your Google Play Store or your, App Store. And it's about $70 a month, unlimited, and that compares to lactation consultant that's about $150 to $250 an hour.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, $70 a month is, pretty good. Second thing, it's a baby shower gift. So let's pretend that I'm pregnant and that my 3 new friends are coming to me for a little baby shower. They can get me the app so you can baby shower gift it. It's really cute. It has a little box. The third is employers actually are really interested in signaling to their employees, we care about you and your new growing family. So employers are starting to gift PACIFY. So we do that. It's amazing. And the fourth thing is, like what I mentioned, is public health, Medicaid, WIC, those kinds of programs where we actually give PACIFY for free through grants. And so we feel really, really happy about it. And, it's available for use now.
Yeah. I mean, the pricing is amazing. The different options is amazing. And I love that, one, you're supporting women who can't and families who cannot afford it because they need it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, that I love that are those companies all West Coast? Or
No, they're all over. No. They're all over. And one of the things I was actually saying the other day that I really think that Tom's model, that shoe, is so amazing. Buy one, get one. We have, models like that all over. But I did think the other day, wouldn't it be amazing if women were buying a PACIFY and then gifting a PACIFY to a woman that couldn't afford it? So, I told Ben and George, I was like, Ben and George,
this is a great idea.
They're like, that's good.
That's
okay,
great.
so we'll see what happens.
And we know actually transitioning to challenges, but we know that breastfeeding rates in communities of color, especially in Black communities, are much lower because of their history, because of the stigma.
Yeah.
And so it's so great that this can be available to them to kind of increase so that there's a level, every baby needs to be nourished in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And if PACIFY can help those communities, it's done a great job.
I think it's also just important to say this because there is research to show this as well, that connecting with somebody that looks like you is very, very powerful, or similar religions, like the way we connected in the beginning, like, oh, you're Jewish, I'm Jewish, oh, shalom. And so I feel like we really strive in our providers for diversity, because we feel like we want to meet that diversity with our callers. And so we have direct Spanish-speaking connections. We speak Mandarin. We have all different types of ways to really connect moms to people that they feel comfortable with. I mean, you want the help. You just want the help. But I think it does help to have a diverse network of providers.
Absolutely.
When we try to do that. Yeah.
So what are the common challenges that you see the folks who are calling in are experiencing?
So I think the biggest thing what I see most often is, and I mentioned this before, is am I doing this right? Am I doing this thing right? What's going on here? Is this right? So that's kind of the first thing. But people ask a lot about milk supply. They ask a lot about going back to work and pumping and maintaining their milk supply. Lots of questions about nutrition. People like to talk about, can this tea help me, or this cookie help me, or this oatmeal help me, or this, that, and the other. And I think talking to them a lot about the physiology of breastfeeding is really, really important. And once people hear that, they understand it. And so those are the kinds of questions that we get. We do get some questions on medication as well that we can help to answer.
So, Melanie, you were saying, my next question was going to be, what advice would you give people considering PACIFY? I think both of us will just say, get it. $70 a month for the app is amazing, because you're right. A lactation consultant minimum, I think, would be $100 an hour. So you have unlimited access to someone a whole month, $70. Ask for it on your registry, no brainer. But I do want to ask, you had mentioned that women aren't guaranteed the same person. Let's say that I speak to Barbara and she's so amazing that I want to keep talking to her. Is that an option?
So that's a great question. So I will just back up and talk about the questions that people ask.
Okay.
So 90% of the questions that we get I like to view it as like an ER. You kind of treat them and street them. That's kind of the thing that you say about an ER, that really they're very cut and dry questions 90% of the time, okay? And so we're able to help them. Mom moves on with life. And as we talked about earlier, the journey changes. So the questions are different. Now, that said, let's say there's a mom. Sometimes there's that connection where you love your lactation consultant or whoever it is, and you really want to talk to Barbara again. We do allow that to happen. So, but again, it doesn't need to happen all the time. And I want to emphasize all the lactation consultants are qualified and amazing. They love this work and they want to help and they answer quickly and they stay on as long as you want. There's no limits on that. But we could make that, I know, it's really nice, but we could make that happen if that's somebody that you really connect with and feel close to and knows your story, and you maybe had a longer than normal call, we allow that to happen. So that's a nice thing, I think, too. Yeah.
Especially if you were adding that mental health app. I mean, that element would be really important to that mom.
I think that's a whole different model than the lactation consulting. I think you're right. I think you're right for that. And that's something we'd have to think about. Yeah, for sure.
So Melanie, can you summarize all of this great information that you've shared? What is it? Why should moms have it? And
yes, I mean, I love talking about PACIFY. It's great. I mean, why? I just think that given that we are dispersed from our families, that we are discharged from the hospital very quickly, that we are just kind of moving at a quick pace, I think that the app is essential for breastfeeding moms who really, had started in the hospital, maybe had a little bit of a hard time, go home, their milk supply changes, everything kind of changes, and I think that they need the support. And I think like I said before, it should be essential, it should be part of what we do, just like back to sleep, teaching people to put their child back to sleep. We should do the same with PACIFY to really change I'm getting very broad here, but change the health of our nation.
Absolutely.
The more moms that we get breastfeeding, the more breast milk we dump down a baby's gut, and I say that very very lovingly, the better for everybody, the better for this baby, the better for the environment, the better for the mama.
Yes.
And so, I just feel very, very strongly that this is something that, should be standard of care. I think it should.
And does the PACIFY support include the pumping aspect and going back to work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you have questions, that's actually a very, we have kind of a list of all the questions that come in. I analyze the charts all the time. And so that's people need to pay their electric bills.
Yeah.
So they have to go back to work. And so we are able to sustain your milk supply through pumping and getting on a good pumping regimen. Because what happens a lot is people go back to work and the milk supply dwindles.
Yeah.
And so PACIFY, we field calls like that all the time. And we bring that milk supply right back up.
Oh, that's
We can bring it right back up. Especially if they had really good lactation experience in the beginning and you had a lot of breastfeeding, you were a robust supply and you were doing really well. Going back to work, you may see a little dip. That's okay.
Yeah.
Give PACIFY a call so we can help you to bring it back up. Yeah.
So there's help out there if breastfeeding is important to you or your family. And like you're saying, there are so many changes that a woman's body goes through. So first 3 days, you were saying, you know, these different developmental stages of the baby, and you're not in your family. So this is a no-brainer, everybody. Again, wish I'm not having any more babies. My husband actually just got a vasectomy, so that's definitely not happening. You're like, I would never share. It's fine. He told my son's teacher at a parent-teacher conference.
I think that that's fine to share.
Well, she was saying her dog was getting neutered. He goes, this may be too much information, but I am too.
Yes, I think this is the more open, the better. I appreciate that. Yes,
So
thank you for telling us.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm not having any more children, but I would have definitely had
Right.
PACIFY.
Thank you.
Because, I can think of all these different phases where you're just, and you don't know who to call. And then you're, you know, if it's 6 months out, then you're thinking, well, I'm not really with the midwife anymore. And like, you know, you don't know and don't have the community. This is.
And I think, like we talked about this too, like Google or the books, like sometimes that they're just not quite answering the question.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit more to the question, a little more color to the question that you need a human being to answer. And some pediatricians don't always know. Bless their hearts.
Yeah.
They don't always know.
Right.
So the lactation consultants do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great. It's been so much fun having you
I
on.
know.
Yes.
Will you invite me back?
Again,
We will,
yes.
yes.
Can we do something else? Because I can talk about PACIFY for a long time.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
We
let's
can
do
a
it.
study on how many of our viewers have downloaded PACIFY
Yes.
by the next time that Melanie's on here.
We can do that. We can take questions. We can do test calls. It's endless what we can do.
It is endless.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Great.
So
Thank you
as
so much.
Melanie mentioned, you can find PACIFY on the Play Store and
Or App Store.
or App Store. And their website information is below, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and our websites as well below.
And as they say, ain't no hood like the motherhood. Bye. Have a great one.